It's coming home. Home. What does that even mean anymore? Home? A nation where fans will celebrate your success when it brings them success, but the racist voices of the minority become the first to bring you down when you fail. Home. A nation where a 19-year-old boy who has been nothing but outstanding for his country gets reduced to abuse for a penalty he never should have been expected to take. Home. Where a young king who can be thanked for hundreds of thousands of kids of all backgrounds having access to free school meals is abused for one missed penalty. Home, where the team's deadliest attacker Raheem will also be left out of the front page headlines because he doesn't fit the national hero profile. After Sunday, I felt like this country always finds a way not to feel like a home, regardless of the level of excellence you have contributed to it.
Back in July, England was gripped by a sort of giddy hysteria as our brave Lions took part in the European Championships. It was a pretty jubilant time. Pubs had reopened, people were dancing in the streets, and seemingly everyone everywhere couldn't wait to tell you about the footy and how it was definitely coming home. Weirdly, at the time, it sort of felt as though it might, and not wanting to miss an opportunity to trivialise a historic moment, we headed down to London. The plan was to annoy some fans, drink some pre-mixed G&Ts, and put together a funny little video on the events that transpired. True to form, England lost on penalties, and my production team had of course prepared for this. Footage of desolate streets and lonely flags pivoting into an optimistic "isn't the footy good and hasn't it brought us together" style conclusion. However, by the following morning, it had become starkly apparent that this simply wasn't going to work. As soon as the match finished, the three young players who had missed their penalties began receiving a barrage of racist abuse. And in Manchester, a mural of Marcus Rashford was defaced with racial slurs. Football may not have come home, but the violent prejudices that underscore our nation's history certainly had.
It was a mad situation going back to it. I remember as the penalty was going on and I saw Rashford miss, the first thing that came to my mind was, what are the people going to say about him on social media? What's going to happen? We all know. And I looked at my friend and he looked at me with the same kind of damning look on. We all know what this means, right?
So yeah, the reaction was exactly what I expected. It's been going on for years. It's happened in previous tournaments. And we've sort of seen it over the last couple of seasons. Yeah, I think my thoughts and feelings were, it's not going to end well, to be honest.
I shared my frustration on my platform in the most rawest way that I could, and then people wanted to hear about it, and I shared my frustration on BBC. I shared my frustration to anybody and anyone who I knew was in a vicinity that could listen. And I thought, why is this such a recurring pattern within society that still isn't being stamped out? You know, being able to know that this sort of stuff is going to happen and anticipate it, but also anticipate the lack of action off the back of it, particularly from the top.
The English game is certainly no stranger to racism, and while substantial steps have been taken to combat bigotry, a recent report found that racial abuse was up by 22% in 2021. Though charities are doing what they can to tackle this, the systemic nature of the issue makes it hard to target. Newspapers continually publish headlines that valorise white players, whilst vilifying their black teammates. Social media has given an unrivaled mouthpiece to bigotry, allowing anonymous users to harass athletes on their personal accounts with little to no repercussions. And time again, instances of abuse, however shocking, are generally met with legislative apathy. Even the UK Home Secretary saw fit to belittle the anti-racist protest of taking the knee as mere gesture politics.
It's very much an outcome of the way in which leadership within the FA, within government, and football generally has kind of tried to just crack on and say, yeah, things will be fine, things will be all right, but ultimately, no, it's not good enough.
Then I saw the organic response of the fans. The Fans who showed up in their thousands, outraged by the audacity of the few who felt it was right to deface Marcus's memorial. The message of the young generation leading the charge in the fight for a generation of football that refuses to judge a player by the colour of their skin, but by the strength of their impact in the community. The nation who woke up and refused to accept the empty words of the toothless leadership from government and social media companies. The realization that the fight against a racist society doesn't reside on the shoulders of black people alone, but the entire footballing community. Seeing the response to how everybody came up and put the positive messages on Marcus's memorial. Seeing news outlets challenging individuals that still chose to ignore the racism that was going on show that there is beginning to be a turn of the tide in terms of how people show up for the black community, how people show up for others and speak out.
Whether it's social media, whether it's newspapers, whether it's television, that's where we have that shared experience and that shared understanding of what's sort of going on. So that's where we can, communicate or look to the news.
Publicly, very publicly, people were coming to the aid of these players and saying the uncomfortable things, saying that this is wrong, saying that actually we're going to speak out against the minority, because it is the minority. And that fills you with a lot of positive hope for the future. It fills you with a lot of possibility and who to work with to really get this message across. And it fuels the momentum to place governments and social media companies in a position where they have to take accountability and they have to do something. I feel like football, when you spend time getting to understand and know a community, can bring so many young people opportunities, not just playing every single day like you see now, but growing their networks, expanding their horizons, and being able to build relationships with friends that they can feel, socially included, especially during so many aspects of the world that can only ever exclude you and only make you feel like you're not invited or not a part of a movement. This is what I love. This is the game I love. This is the game I enjoy. That goes so much further than the 90 minutes you watch on a TV screen.
I think as a society, there are individuals that need to be educated, and education comes from many different places. It comes from your schooling, your experiences, but also I think governing bodies and the institutions that hold these individuals have a lot more to do.
With that hope creates an opportunity for the England team to mean so much more than the success of their football within the 90-minute game. Opening a chapter of a new era of history where the team represents the strength and unity of a nation united by our common love for the game, not divided by our backgrounds. This is how we drown the negative noise out. This is how we move England forward. This is the sort of England that will make people feel like it is a home.